Hello and welcome to this episode of the Prime Barrel Show. I am your co-host, Mr. G. Well, Michael Nagdy is inside getting ready for a single barrel selection here at Redwood Empire. Today we're in Vallejo, California at a former naval station, and I'm just taken by everything around us. This was the first naval station on the West Coast. It opened back in the 1850s and was decommissioned in 1996. So for 150 years, there were all sorts of ships and submarines made here, and what they've left behind is just incredible to look at. I'm joined by Elliot Sneen, who is the senior brand manager for Redwood Empire. They're the distillery we're visiting today, and I'm really looking forward to getting inside and having an opportunity to pick a single barrel. Elliot, what do you have in line for us?
Well, our single barrel program is all surrounded by Haystack Needle. It's what we call our kind of ultimate pick, if you will. We have got a lot of different lines. We've got almost 15 products now as a brand, but this is what is most unique, rare, and hopefully one of a kind for you guys.
Outstanding. I understand you all make over a dozen mash bills.
That's right.
And you've just recently moved into this facility from another distillery, and now you've tripled your production capacity, which is really exciting.
That's right. We've actually been looking for a new distillery for probably 5+ years. So it really feels great to be in this new home on Mare Island. And like you said, our production has, could actually go all the way up to 7x if we build out our production in the coming years. But that being said, that might mean a lot more single barrel picks in the future.
That'll be exciting. I know it takes a while to distill it and age it. Meanwhile, today you've got some barrels inside waiting for us. Let's go inside and have a taste.
Alrighty, come on in. Welcome in, guys. Welcome to Redwood Empire. I'm Elliot Sneen. I'm the senior brand manager here for Redwood Empire Whiskey. And believe it or not, you guys are our only second ever live barrel pick here on our new home place on Mare Island in Northern California. I've got Jeff Duckhorn, our master distiller, here to my left, and I'd like to have him kick us off with a little bit of brand history and then what we're going to be getting ourselves into with our Haystack Needle pick coming up shortly.
Awesome. Thanks, Elliot.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff Duckhorn, master distiller. I've been with the Redwood Empire brand since we started in 2015. So we're just a little baby whiskey company. Just hit our 10-year anniversary this year. And with that, over the last couple of years, we finally started talking about launching our own single barrel program. So last year we did a pretty small teaser release, did a little over 50 barrels for the whole country. And then this is going to be our follow-up batch 2. We chose an 8-year because that's really when we felt our stuff was starting to get super interesting. We do a bottle and bond at 5-year. I personally love that. Our batch that just came out, is coming out this year, is just, they're getting better every year. And so this is very fun to watch. Basically, those bottle and bonds with another 3 years of evolution on them. So for batch 2, this is distillate from spring of 2017. This was a little over 2 years into our maturation as a distillery. So I think we'd kind of hit the ground running at that point, had a pretty good idea of what we were doing, had done a lot of experimentation in 15 and into early 16. And so you're starting to see some trends develop from our distillery, our cooperages, our 4-grain mash bill, which is pretty prominent throughout a lot of our stuff. So some similarities are going to start to develop. Yeah.
Thanks for giving us a little review of the brand. I think for most people here, it'll probably be first time we're trying your single barrel, especially if you're on distillate. It certainly is for me.
Yeah.
One of the things that made me come here today in person and bring all of our great members here today was the fact that this is a 4-grain mash bill. Like, I think as you go through your whiskey journey, you kind of realize what kind of works for you and what doesn't. That includes some of the mash bills. And for me personally, 4-grain has always been my thing. So I'm looking forward to tasting these today.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's something early on we identified, that wheat was just kind of like the little umami for us. And so a little bit, started going also into our rye. I personally love malt a lot, so that's something that's going to really separate us as well. A little bit does go a long way, and so throughout all of our recipes, we're constantly playing with some really fun different malts, some local, some from across the pond, pretty much all over. We actually had our first silo delivery last week of 50,000 pounds of malt from Midwest, from Brees Malt, which is their big supplier to a lot of breweries and distilleries. And so constantly pushing the envelope on our grains and our malts to try to, separate us from the pack and differentiate. And it's been really fun to kind of see the fruits of those labors start to pay off. And so I think this is going to be something very unique for you, obviously. We got to play around with some MGP early on, as you were mentioning. We did some single barrel releases with their stuff. Phenomenal, really fun. We have a little bit of that left. But as a distiller, for me personally, it's fun to see what we made from scratch get to this stage where we're actually sitting down and talking about it and appreciating it and nuance and so yeah, super fun. So do you want any? You don't want any details on the barrels?
No, we don't. So the one thing we do when we do barrel picks, we always do them blind.
Yeah.
We don't want to be swayed by any factoids, so to speak, about any barrel, and then we pick on the merit of taste, right?
I'm a recovering accountant. That's how I actually came to work for this company, and so I get a little heavy on the facts and the numbers. So I'll pull back on that.
We'll get heavy on it.
We can talk about that later, but yeah, I have a lot of numbers always swimming in my head, which is, believe it or not, is very helpful when you're a distiller as well, because everything else is still numbers and proofs and volumes and loss and all that stuff. So.
Of course. And it'd be interesting to see if people actually can guess the proofs of these and see how close they get.
Cool.
So, all right, cool. So everybody here has done this before once or twice, but normally, as I was telling you before, we rate every sample on 3 different categories. That would be nose, palate, and finish. Those scores are just to kind of, facilitate the conversation. They're not end all be all kind of thing. I know you're an accountant, and probably that gets you all
it's really exciting.
in knots, but like we use it directionally is the word,
Sure.
right? And if the scores are hovering in 7s, that normally becomes a pick.
Okay.
So we'll see how these 3 perform today.
Fabulous.
All right, let's get to it.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna leave you guys to it. We'll be back in a little while.
This is going to be real interesting to hear what everybody has to say. We had a lot more sidebar discussion, I think, today than we normally do, which I think identifies the complexity and the choices here among these 3 that Jeff and Elliot left this week. So I'm going to be real anxious to hear what everyone else says, because I am a house divided. I'm not sure where everyone else rests on this one. Let's start, Brandon. What say you?
So I had a hard time with this. I eliminated one of them pretty quickly, but then I had a hard time with the other 2. The one that I eliminated was number 1, barrel 1836. I thought the nose on it was somewhere in the same neighborhood as the other ones in terms of score, but I found the nose a little bit grainy. I got a lot of green on it because it was almost a little young. I found the palate thin, and I didn't like the finish. I just got like a flash of white pepper, and that's about it. So at scoring on that barrel, I gave it a 6.5 on the nose, a 5 on the palate, like the thinness, and a 5 on the finish, like that white pepper flash. So then I was torn between barrels 2 and 3 here. My scoring, I actually like the nose on number 2 a little bit more than number 3, but I like the palate and finish on number 3 better than number 2. So when you combine those into, add up the scores, it comes out pretty close. So I was debating between 2 and 3 for a while, went back and forth. I think if I had to choose one, I landed on number 3 because I like the palate and the finish more than number 2. So my scoring on barrel number 2 was 7 on the nose, 6 on the palate, and 5.5 on the finish. On barrel 3, I like the nose a little bit less. I gave it a 6 on the nose, but I like the palate finish more. I gave it a 7.5 on the palate and a 7 on the finish. I felt like if I had to drink a bottle of this, drink it over time, I think I would enjoy number 3 slightly better than 2, but I could see if the group did number 2, I'd be happy with that as well.
So your force rank is 3, 2 on.
Correct.
Your specific balance, you like that?
Yeah, I found it fruitier, I think, than the other ones for sure. And I on all 3, I didn't find any of them very viscous, but I found it most viscous of 3.
All right, thanks, Brendan. About Art?
Well, Barrel number 1 I thought was rather plain. Was easy drinking, tastes nice, but I didn't think it had a very strong nose, palate, or finish. So I agreed. That was one I eliminated pretty quickly. Barrel.
Did you get a score on?
6, 6, and 6 for each. Barrel 2, some of you may remember, I really like the nose most of anything. That's what really sets up for C3. I thought it was a strong, clean nose, and Barrel 2 that stood out the most. The palate of number 2 was was great, delicious. And then the finish, I thought it was a strong finish, very minty. I got a spearmint or kind of a sweet mint in the chocolate. So 8, 6, 8 on that. And then the third barrel, I thought was well rounded. Nose, the palate was delicious, and I thought the finish was it was a nice, strong and long finish that I really enjoyed, and 7s across the board.
So, first rank then?
2, 3, 1.
Thank you. Keith?
I was drawn right away to number 2 by nose. Good. This has vanilla, and just sweet, nice. So that one to me right away, I was drawn to. The other 2 were fine, but as I moved forward, I definitely thought about that one the best. Like the first one, like you said, maybe a little bit bland. The nose, not quite so good. The third one, to me, where you use mint as a positive for to me, 3 was almost mint, but it was a negative. To me, the 2 is the most well-rounded. I gave 1 like a 7, 6, 5, 2 an 8, 7, 8, and 3 a 6, 7, 6, which really puts 2 for me kind of head and shoulders with the other 2. I don't know. I guess the numbers might not be balanced.
Okay, so your force rank then?
2 and then significant difference to the other 2.
Gotcha. All right, let's come back to this side of the table with Alex.
Awesome. I think that for me, I was a fan of number 2 also. The nose was great. Both the other 2 seemed to be a little bit higher, the ethanol in the nose, like it was canceling out some of the flavors. And the nose on 2 was nice and sweet, and I enjoyed that. Palate on number 2, I think was fairly fruity for me, fruitier than some of the other ones. And I thought the finish was good. It wasn't super exciting for me, but it was long, and so I enjoyed that. I think contrary to some other people, though, I actually liked 1 better than 3. I think that the palate on 1 for me was a little syrupy, which gave me a little bit higher of a score there. And it did have a fairly long finish, even though I didn't think it was that super interesting, but it was a good long finish. So for me, it was 2, 1, 3. I did 7.5, 7.5, 7 on 2, 6, 7, 7 on 1, and then 6, 6.5, 6 on 3. So my first rank would be 2, 1, 3.
Derek. 2 and 3 stood out a lot more interesting to me initially. And 2 just didn't have like, they're very similar, a lot more 3, 4, a little more on the right direction, more about each of us. So I give them about 7 on those. The difference for me between this, it was more on the fountain finish. 3 seemed like it might get a little younger, a little hotter, maybe slightly higher growth, but the finish I didn't enjoy as much as I did from C1. The palate though slightly better initially on 3. So it's really hard to go back and forth. It was a lot of comparison between the 2. I think ultimately I would choose 2. but they're so close that it's very hard. It's just for the old Valor anymore for the finish. Just kind of instant break. Probably 2-3.
2-3. Okay. Do you have numbers?
So for 3, I would say, let's see, 7-7-6. For 2, 7-6-7.
Perfect. Interesting. So numerically then, the totals, and this gets back to Michael's idiom about the numbers are directional and not absolute, but he scored 2 and 3 with the same number, but from a qualitative perspective, you're all over it.
Yeah, I would lean towards 2. I mean, if you had to give the score, I'd come up with about half a point somewhere just to push it a little slightly.
Oh, did you have scores on number 1?
And those would be about 6. They'd probably be 6.
Okay.
Actually, 6 and 7.
Thanks. Michael, how about?
This is difficult for me. As you guys know, and I mentioned this today, bro, 4 grades on my man. I can't really say that this is what I expected. From a perspective, to me, 4 grades is I'm not the honest. And any of those 3. Now, that's not to say they're bad. That's not a bad whiskey at all. I kind of hated I dislike number 1 less than most of the people, honestly. Like, I've gotten some interesting notes from it. Vanilla extract, cocoa bits, some baking spices there. I agree with you, Brendan, that the finish kind of kicked for me. That white spice flash kind of kicked for me. I took that out. So for that reason, I eliminated it. So I am with the most of you, between 2 and 3. 2 would probably be a safer choice. It's more balanced. There is that mint note, but in the good mint note. On number 3, I actually got an eucalyptus note on hops. It wasn't minty, it was more something you get in a spa or something like that. I think that's what I'm that. But if I had to pick between these 2 would be my choice. I'd probably enjoy drinking 2 over a longer period of time versus drinking number 3.
Do you have scores?
Yeah, I do. 1 was 6.55. Battle 2 was 6.5, 7, and then 6 across.
13 and 7, 20 to 6 across.
Yeah.
I found some real challenges with this one. When I went through them the first time, just nosed them. For me, 3 had the strongest nose. When I went through and tasted them, 3 had the strongest, most forward palate. So I thought I knew what my pick was going to be, but then I went through and really tried to evaluate them all side by side. For the first one, unlike most of the group, I was pretty fast to dismiss that. I gave scores of 5.5 across the board for a total of 16.5. I found the nose was floral, but it was the lightest. For me, it just was the weakest, didn't have as much going for it. The palate, I was getting a little bit of bubblegum sort of sweetness. And again, it was just the lightest of the 3. The finish was quick, it wasn't very complex. Not a bad bourbon, but just among these 3, it wasn't my favorite. Barrel number 2 then came along, and I was getting this time the bubblegum on the nose. The palate was sweet and fresh, I liked it. The finish was cinnamon red hot, it had some heat, some bite to it, but it was sweet like honey, and it was long. And toward the end of the finish, I actually was getting like pine needles, which I don't know the last time I thought of pine needles. And barrel number 3, again, I thought the nose was the most complex. It was the strongest. The palate was the strongest. I was really liking it. And then the finish came along, and for number 3, it was my least favorite part of number 3. I found it to be rougher and drier than the others. And I kind of echo what Derek had to say. I like the nose and the palate better on 3. I like the nose and the palate less on 2, but I like the finish better on 2. And I think for me, 2 was more complete. 3, I found the finish just was the unraveling of that, my enjoyment on that. I think that if I wasn't drinking them side by side and evaluating them, and I just had one or the other, which is I think how you should be evaluating these, I would rather drink 2 all night long than 3. So in the end, my scores for number 3 were 7, 7, and 6 for a total of 20 because I loved that nose and the palate, and then the finish dropped off. For barrel number 2, my scores were 6.5 across the board for a total of 19.5. So it's a 0.5 margin of differential. I scored number 3 higher, but again, Michael's idiom is scores are directional, they're not absolute. And if I had to make a force rank, it would be 2, 3, 1. So that's where I've been.
Oh, you missed all the fun, dude.
Elliot, come on in and join us.
missed the discussion, man. All right, Elliot, here's the thing. So we went through everything. I think we do have the favorite. All right, let's unwind. Like, where are the ages? Where are the gruesomes? Do you guys want to?
I would love to have Jeff here for that portion and have him talk to you guys about the different mash bills or ages or proofs and all that good stuff. If you guys don't mind me getting him down here with me.
Jeff mentioned that you guys still have some of the leftovers from the original
Sure.
run of Federals from MGP.
Here he is. Your ears must be burning. They want to drink even more barrels, and unfortunately we don't have any additional samples.
Our favorite was number 2. Number 4, just to reinforce our selection. Do you guys have any older stuff by chance?
No. I mean, so we started distilling in 2015. None of that is left. I mean, that was really an experimental year for us. I kind of quietly blended all that away for just this day that I knew would come, and none of it was really good. So, I mean, it takes a long time to figure these things out. So 16 is really when we started laying stuff down in earnest. These are both actually from fall of 16. I went back and looked at the notes. So these are almost 9 years.
What's your barrel age?
110. These were both right at 110. That's what we target. They drift más o menos depending upon trying to get to whole barrels sometimes, but these were both right at 110. Interesting thing, the first two were part of a very large lot, 26 barrels. This was back in the day in Grayton. We were a much smaller production facility. We were eking out about 4 barrels a day on a good day. And so this was over the course of a couple weeks of distilling. So it was a much larger lot that was blended together. Even that being the case, those two are pretty different, which is interesting. They all lived mostly together. That being said, these all lived in Grayton at our distillery, and between 15 and 22, they were probably moved at least 4 times while we were moving stuff around, and so things did shift. They were always all on one floor. We never had a multi-floor rick house, but they could have been on the bottom of the stack or the 5th one up. But everything we've seen goes up in proof in Grayton. I've never seen anything go down in proof, and we're averaging about a proof point a year going up. Even though we're a half hour from the Pacific Ocean, we are relatively dry, so our proofs are going up. So the 3 in order of your left to right is 118.6, 119.2, and 122 flat.
What is the mash bill?
The mash bill is 72% corn, 18% rye, 5 wheat, 5 barley, and that holds for both of those. That is our mash bill, our in-house mash bill. You might out there in the world see some Bardstown barrels. They do that exact mash bill for us. And so if you ever come across a Bardstown barrel, that every once in a while they did extras and sold them off, and I've seen them out in the market, like they do single barrel picks. That's our mash bill that we pioneered. So, you know, and then we've completely changed that over the years. Like we're doing a bunch of different stuff this year with the distillery, just figuring out our capabilities. 4 grain has been a little challenging for us to achieve here on an everyday basis, and so we're doing 3 grain high rye, 3 grain high wheat, and then with the intent to potentially blend those later. And then we are going to get into some more 4 grain as we get later in the year, but it's a little challenging. We have 3 silos, not a very good bulk bag handling setup, and so everything has to be done by either silos or 50-pound bags essentially. We're getting a bulk stand installed next month, which will really allow us to be a little more flexible.
How excited are you to have this new distillery?
Oh, it's great. I mean, we're averaging 14 barrels a day on a much easier day. I mean, that's like 6.5 hours of distilling versus 12. We could and will go much higher from there. Fermentation's our biggest limiter. These buildings are, like 200 years old, so they had to kind of shoehorn a distillery into a not distilling purpose-built space. And so we're pretty limited on fermenters. And so my goal, hopefully in the next year or 2, is to land a couple bigger ones outside, and that would double our capacity pretty quickly. But we'll do like 2,500 barrels this year, which is 2.5 times what we've ever done in Grayton. And the goal is to just kind of go up from there.
Can I guess that's still not enough to supply everything you need?
Our goal is to feather out of our contracts over the next couple of years and ramp this up. We're sitting on 24,000 barrels, and about 14 is stuff we either made in Grayton or stuff that was made here, either by us or for us or by Savage and Cook. We started partnering with Savage and Cook in fall of 22, and they started laying down whiskey for us with our custom mash bills. So that's where this partnership has been fun, because it's been a multi-year thing that's been developing, and then by the end of last year, there was this opportunity where they just wanted to sell out. We were able to come in, but we already had a 2-year relationship with them, so it's been really nice.
So this one is Haystack Needle. Where does this brand play out in your future? Does it become one of your premier frontline brands?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of reimagined it last year, starting in, I don't know, was it 21? I think was probably our first single barrel year. That was with MGP. So that was us kind of tiptoeing into the single barrel world, but that was with a sourced whiskey. And then we did do some finishes, in-house wine finishes on that. But really the goal was always for that to be our single barrel offering. So Haystack is, as it stands now, will always be our single barrel offering. So we have a lot of different products. You know, we have a bottle and bond series, we have our core series, we have cask series, but the goal for Haystack is to be single barrel offerings. But there'll be finishes, there'll be other stuff. We have 100 barrels of brandy, both apple and grape. I would love to do some finishes using those barrels. I mean, we have some pretty fun stuff in barrel, and also we're a winery, so we have access to great Pinot barrels, Chardonnay barrels, Cab barrels, things like that. So yeah, it'll be fun. I mean, the future is bright. You know, this is a long road though, right? I mean, this is stuff we made, you know, almost 9 years ago, and it was 2 years in our iteration, and it's been really fun to watch these develop over time.
It's exciting to move into the new facility where you immediately tripled your distilling capacity.
Oh yeah.
Talking about increasing the number of fermentation tanks and doubling again. That's
right.
It's quite a bright and exciting future.
Sure. And then we have this space, which is amazing. We're open Thursday through Sunday. We can sell 3 bottles per day per person direct, which is something we've never been able to do before. So that's really nice. And then do events. We have a beautiful event space upstairs. You know, so there's a lot of benefits out of this, as well as the additional capacity. So it's great. I mean, this has been, like I said, a long time to make. We started looking for an expansion opportunity in 2017. Like I have communications going back to then with our still manufacturer and with other people, and so it's been a long and a little painful process, but we're here, so it's exciting.
Sure. So, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think Jeff and Elliot here, we should toast our selection, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody, barrel number 2. Here's the fire.
Cool.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah.
Elliot, once again, thank you so much for showing us such a great time here at Redwood Empire today. I think between the time you spent with us and Master Distiller Jeff Duckhorn, we really learned a lot about the growth of your company and the distillery here at Mare Island with your new operating facility. I mean, these grounds are magnificent. I just can't believe all those who walked here before us. But that's not why we were here. We were here for an exciting barrel of Haystack Needle, and this is a 4-grain barrel. We're really looking forward to getting that bottled and being able to put it in people's hands.
No, I think you guys have made a great selection today. I love hearing your entire process and how you guys are very meticulous of how you taste and smell and the finish. And I've never had a barrel picked quite like today. So I really appreciate you guys coming and supporting our brand as well.
Awesome, thank you. And I'll have to say, at the Prime Barrel, we like to do things first. Today we did something second, and that's all right. We're only the second in-person barrel selection that Redwood Empire has done. And I think that's really exciting, and it's a great barrel that's coming out soon. So for Michael Nagdi, I am Mr. G, and until next time, cheers from the Prime Barrel.
Cheers.